In 2020, Amy Vilela led the charge for Bernie Sanders' landslide victory in the Nevada caucuses, and she's fought in the trenches of the political revolution to elect progressive champions, like Cori Bush, for example, and Jamal Bowman. Now she is running a 100% grassroots, people-funded, people-powered campaign for Congress in Las Vegas to represent Nevada's 1st district. This past weekend, she spoke as bluntly as possible about the existential emergency of climate change that's affecting not only her district, but her district specifically. She was introduced by none other than Nina Turner, who is running in her own state of Ohio. Instead of me introducing Amy, let's let Nina introduce her. Roll that beautiful Nina footage.
All that we love is on the line. That's it, and that's all. This is really simple. This is not complicated. And Mother Earth and the entire ecosystem cannot afford to have folks try to make up their mind about the existential threat that climate chaos is causing, not only in this great nation, but also in the world. So it is time, it is past time to have leaders to stand up and decide whose side they really are on. And one of the reasons why I am here in this great state today is because I know what side my sister Amy Vilela is on. She is on the side of the people, unequivocally. One of the beautiful things about Amy Vilela and also my sister Cori Bush is we have traveled this country together, standing up for what is just, what is right, and what is good. See, we didn't need fancy titles to understand that when you see injustice and inequity, you must stand up and you must speak up, that you must put a little extra on your ordinary. That is what we have been doing together all over this country as we travel together in support of Senator Bernie Sanders, who really got this progressive kind of thing started in the 21st century. So here we stand, sisters together, being the champions that are necessary, having in common that mama spirit, because ain't nothing like the mama spirit. And when the mamas get together and decide that things must change, things are going to change. Only all that we love is on the line. Every single person that has had the opportunity to speak here today, to stand in solidarity, not only with Amy Vilela, who is the conduit to this, I consider us missionaries on a journey to make some crooked paths straight, but understanding that her very courage to step into this race, to run and declare that things must change, that all is on the line, is not just for the people of the 1st district. It's not just for the people of this great state. It is for the people of the nation. And to be bold enough to put herself on the line and her family on the line for all that is just, all that is right, and all that is good. We're not playing games. Mother Earth is sending us a signal that all is not right. And we don't have forever to do something about it. We don't have forever to stand up to the corporatist interests who absolutely don't give a damn. This is really about money, 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 money at the expense of everything else. It is about money. It is about a type of greed that suppresses and depresses not only human beings, but the ecosystem, the animals, the flowers, everything that depends on us as human beings to get this right and to get this right quickly. So we don't have time to wait. We don't have time to play around. We don't have time to flirt with the status quo. We need a leader who is not ashamed to say so, that she stands up for the poor, the working poor, and the barely middle class in these United States of America. And part of that is protecting the climate, the environment. Because if we don't take care of Mother Earth, we have nothing else. If we don't take care of Mother Earth, all the other issues that animate us, all the other justices that we are fighting for will be mute, because we will not have an Earth.
The best possible introduction. Amy's joining us on the program today. Amy Vilela, thanks for joining me here today. Let's bring her in, and there we go. Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
Happy Bernie Sanders Day in Nevada.
Yes, I've got my field of burn. Oh, hold on. I'll widen out my shot here. The field of burn is always here. Yes.
Yeah, we're celebrating that victory. It surely was wonderful for us here in Nevada. We really showed how far we've come on progressive issues. And this June, we're like celebrating it. And we know in this June, we're going to have another victory. We're going to win this.
Yes.
just want to put a shout out there. Anybody that wants to help us on this, in the spirit of Bernie Sanders Day, you can throw $22 to amy.vegas.
Yeah, or more. That's fine too.
Yes, yeah.
I've got the website down there, amyvilela.org. There's ways to donate here. I was first introduced to you, Amy, when I was covering Bernie Sanders' run in Nevada, where you spoke from the stage there and you told the tragic story of your daughter having been turned away from a hospital emergency room for a perceived, not even a real, but a perceived lack of health insurance. And she subsequently died because they didn't treat her. I always feel like anytime I talk to you, I want to give you my deepest condolences on that loss. And thank you for turning that grave injustice into your, so far from that lifelong fight for justice for all of us. So I do appreciate you. And you're just coming from a position of internal power that I don't think will be able to, the forces that are trying to keep you down, I don't think they're going to win against that. So
No.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
We're all in this fight together. And I know that was my last words to Shalyn right before she passed was, she was not going to die in vain. And, I've always said it all along, I can't save my daughter, but I can surely work to save others and their loved ones. And, really that purpose and that, giving back to your community is really what saved me and helped me move forward. And I never would have thought I'd been in politics. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I like that even better. You weren't like, I'm going to be a politician and, do that.
I wasn't from the right pedigree. I wasn't from a wealthy. I was, raised in poverty. I had been divorced. I was a single mom. I had my car repoed. Go down the list, but,
No, that's good. You were unhoused. I know about this already because your housing policy is exactly what is needed in this. Under this, we can just go to that under this, what's happening now. So in 2020, a huge number of Las Vegas families faced that same reality of being unhoused during the pandemic. And of course, it happened again after the 2008 financial crisis. Talk about what's happening in Las Vegas and of course across the country around housing and what could you do as an elected official from the halls of Congress to help some of this alleviate some of the suffering.
Well, here in Las Vegas, we get hit some of the hardest. We were hit hardest with COVID. We are hit hardest when it comes to unemployment just because of what, our industry here is in Las Vegas. And right now we're seeing rents go through the roof. Some reports were saying 25%. People are getting rent increases of hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And then we have a shortage of affordable housing. We have some of the least available affordable housing in the nation. And when you have hundreds of people that are applying for one home, not only are our landlords getting rich off of the fees, but they're asking for things like credit scores up in the 670s. They're asking for not only a deposit that equals the rent, but the first and last month rent. And they're
might as well buy a house.
Right.
You can't do that either, but
we're also having people from outside the state and people with cash coming in, buying up all our housing. So people honestly don't have anywhere to go. Mm-hmm. And so we need to be addressing this first, on a grander scale. We could be addressing this with a Green New Deal, right? And building affordable housing, making sure we have jobs and people having income and addressing the issues that are within Las Vegas. We can also have a tenant's bills of rights, right? We can make sure that we are taking care of people's rights when they are renting and not being able to be evicted without cause, not having to check boxes, whether or not they've been evicted before. There's so many things that we need to address, and we need someone who's going to work around the clock on this issue. When my good friend Cori Bush was out there on the steps, I was very surprised that no one from Nevada was joining her, seeing how we are really in this situation here in Nevada. It's because they don't have that lived experience.
I noticed that you don't mention your, the person who's in the seat now who you're hoping to unseat's name. You didn't mention that person's name yesterday, and you're not mentioning him. Is that a thing that we're not doing? I just hosted this progressive summit, and none of them mentioned the name of their opponent, which I think is, I think we need to do it. I think we need to call them out on a national level for being less than we had hoped.
Right. Well, for me, it's really what I want people to get out of this is really about the issues. Most of the voters don't even know her name. When we're knocking doors, we've been knocking since October. majority of people in the district don't even know her name. So the vast
So she hasn't done very much to like get name recognition
Right.
that people would be thrilled about whatever she's doing.
Right. And she's had the strongest, Democratic seat in the state for over a decade. And yet, whether it's a midterm or a presidential election, she is consistently delivering less than 20,000 fewer votes than her northern counterpart up in CD2, which wins and landslides by the GOP. So she is not, there's an enthusiasm gap. And there's a lack of engagement with the everyday person who really needs to feel like someone is listening. They're actually going to fight for them in Congress. If you don't feel like anything's going to change, then why are you going to show up to the polls?
Yes. Amy, you have been on the program before, and we did speak about this before, but we spoke earlier in this interview a little bit about what happened and what got you to start looking into a political career. Let's talk about healthcare. In the last run, it seemed like the people in Nevada's first didn't find your moral call for a just healthcare system compelling enough to put you over the top. But now that COVID has shed light on what is exactly going on, are you seeing people waking up to what you have been trying to tell them?
I mean, I saw that when we had the caucus for Bernie. I mean, there has been a real shift. And I always tell people, I hear and I see what's going on online, and I hear comments coming back, and people are like, we're losing or we've lost, but listen, every time we run, every time we're out there, every time we're talking to people, and all the people on the front lines who are out here being activists, we are building that infrastructure and getting people to be aware of what's possible. I mean, I remember before my daughter died, when Bernie announced in 2015, I remember them talking about universal health care. I didn't know what it was. And, when she passed and I started really researching this, and this is just when we started talking about universal health care, I was so shocked when I saw a video of Bernie in the year she was born, talking about how people were dying from a lack of health care. And I remember saying to myself, oh my God, she's not a tragedy. Julian's not a tragedy. She's one of tens of thousands every year that are dying, right? People have been saying this. We cannot tire out. We have to continue on. I mean, I don't care what they throw at us. I don't care what's happening in there. I know that we can do this. We just have to keep on. Every year that passes by, there's more and more people dying. We don't have the luxury to sit back and be worried about what's happening in the past, elections or whatever. We just have to keep on building onto that. And we've done a really good job of that in Nevada, on the front with the frontline organizers, as well as people within the community. Those organizations, those friendships have not gone away since the caucus. And we've continued to push out and let people know there is better available. And there are people who are willing to actually use everything at their disposal to fight for those policies, not just show up when it's time to vote.
Yeah, I noticed as we were talking to these progressive candidates across the country, some of them have had to run more than once, but the ground game has built up so much name recognition now. And then that space has opened up in certain races because of all the hard work that was already done. So you've already been building this for quite some time here. I was very happy to hear you talk this weekend about, there was no minced words, neither yours nor Nina's nor Cori Bush's, who was also there at the event, about the existential threat of climate change. Can you talk about what's happening in your district and what corporations and corporate Dems in power are willing to allow to happen there that you are not?
Well, right now, as many probably have seen, our state has been on fire and it's running out of water. Literally, we are running out of water.
Yeah, that's not good.
And while this is happening, we are right now in the midst of fighting back against a bill that is in Congress right now that was introduced by my opponent that will actually take federal lands and give them into private hands. And it's a giveaway to developers. So they're talking about increasing the size of Las Vegas by the size of St. Louis. And while we're in the middle of this crisis, and there's been a precedent in this state that, they've been consistently taking federal lands and giving them into private hands so that they can, make profit off of developing them without any kind of, call to attention to what's happening in our environment. And we right now are trying to say, at this time I am standing up for the Green New Deal, which again, my opponent does not. And we want to set a precedent by showing that we are going to fight this bill with people power. We're not going to allow this to happen anymore. And, one of the neighboring cities, Boulder City, they've done a great job in showing us, how to do controlled growth. And they're going to be one of the ones that are impacted, but they're not the only ones that are going to be impacted. This will not be felt evenly across the board.
I don't really understand why anyone would want to build something in a place where there's not going to be any water. Are there very soon? Are they hoping for, are they doing, hoping for a rainstorm? Like what, how can they make money if no one's going to want to live there soon?
Right. But this is all about the almighty dollar. It's all about the short-term returns that they're going to get. Right. And if we look at, who's donating to my opponent, you're going to see that it's going to be the developers. It's one of her largest donors, right? So when we talk about the why behind this and who's going to, they're not worried about who's going to live there and what kind of conditions they're going to live in. They're worried about what kind of profits they're going to get when they sell these homes, right? And our representatives are not acting with the urgency that's required with the crisis at hand right now. It's all about short-term greed.
I still don't even get, are people not following this issue? Who would buy a house in a drought-stricken area that has the longest drought in 1,200 years or something? I just read some. It doesn't, it still doesn't seem like a good investment to me, Amy, to buy. I mean,
right.
Whatever.
Our representatives are not using their platform to talk in depth about about what's happening in our environment. They're not using their platforms to talk about the Green New Deal. Then people are busy. People are working multiple jobs here in Las Vegas just to make ends meet, right? It's up to people who are in leadership positions to make sure they're talking about these issues with their constituents. And that isn't happening, again, because of the almighty dollar. And that's what, one of the jobs that I have, even as I'm running, is using my platform to bring these issues to light. Not only when it comes to, the environment, when it comes to, Medicare For All, when it comes to immigration, all of these issues, they want to talk about the easy things. I can't tell you how many times I've seen in the newspapers recently that Nevada is back. Las Vegas is back. It's back for who? It's certainly not back for the working people in Las Vegas. Right. Yeah. It's not back for, the barely middle class, working class about to be poor in Las Vegas. It's back for the casinos and the people that are getting wealthy off the backs of our people or constituents in this district.
Oh, boy. Okay. Across the country, 28 Democrats are not running for re-election in the House. Do you see this as an opportunity for more wide progressive victories?
It's funny you say that, use that word.
No?
So my opponent is she's trying to malign me saying I'm an opportunist. And I think we do.
Yeah, I heard about that. That is.
Yeah, I think we do have an excellent opportunity. We have an opportunity for people in this district and across the nation to vote for bold progressive leaders. We need more in Congress. Corey kept on mentioning over and over again, she needs help. There's only a few people. She needs help in Congress. We need to be able to have people who are willing to sit on those steps, who are willing to go out there and push the buttons and talk about issues that other politicians are not willing to talk about, because then they'll be called. They'll be called out on where they've been and what they haven't been doing, more importantly, right? We need people who are not bought and sold in there. They're going to work around the clock. Again, it doesn't mean just showing up when it's time to vote. That's not enough. The urgency of now of all these issues is not enough. When we have over 40,000 people a year dying from health, a lack of health care, showing up to vote if it comes on the floor is not enough. We have to use everything at our disposal. When it comes to the environment, our children and grandchildren and their children are not going to see a return back to where we are now environmentally if we don't start acting now.
Which still isn't that great. I've been alive for a while and I remember it being better than this. Yeah,
exactly.
So
I always tell people, we need people that have this lived experience, because if you don't know what it's like to have to be evicted, or have to choose between gas and electric for your, how you're going to pay for the bills, having car insurance for a long time was a luxury. I mean, I could barely even pay to get the gas to get to work, but there's a lot of forces coming in on the progressives. They're certainly singling me out. They know that we have the excitement in Nevada. They know that people are ready to go to work here in the state. We are seeing so much excitement and so much support, and that's so important. But, in order to get there, I'm going to need help, and I'm definitely going to need donations. We're going to have to put up a large, defense coming down to the primary day. So, if you live in Nevada's first district, I need your vote, but I also need people's support, not only from in district, but across the nation financially.
Yeah. And share this video also to get people the understanding that, when I did the progressive caucus thing where we showcase candidates, and I want you to be on the next one, Amy, is to the feedback I got was, oh, we didn't know there were so many progressive. No, of course you don't. It's by design. It's not like they're giving you tons of time on MSNBC.
Right, exactly. And it's been very surprising to me it's not surprising actually. I shouldn't say I'm surprised by it anymore. I mean, part of me hopes that people, believe in democracy and would let the people decide. But the amount of effort that's going to be going into trying to stop a select handful of us, myself included, is enormous. And I'm ready for the fight. And regardless if they throw at me, my why is so personal. I always tell people, unless you can resurrect my daughter from the dead, you have nothing to offer me. I'm going to go in there and fight like none other for the things that really will make a difference, not only for constituents in CD1 in Nevada, but also across this nation, because pain is pain and life is too short. And we have to have people in here who are actually fighting to take away, needless death, needless pain, and needless suffering. So I'd be missed again if I asked people, listen, I'm going up against some of the biggest fighters.
I'm going to ask them for you, Amy. Go to amyvilela.org. It's VILELA.org and make a contribution, and then tweet everything and tell everyone about Amy. I want to, we have a segment of the internet. I don't really think it's ours so much, but the internet has a segment of people who say that they're progressive and they're on the left, and then they tear down our progressive leaders in Congress as if they should be able to wave a wand and stay ideologically pure and not have to actually do the job that they're in, which is politics. That's the job. Right. What would you say to people who are either losing faith in the electoral process, or the people who are so maybe have been disappointed by, I'm putting it nicely, by, they're disappointed by concessions made by the squad? And your thoughts about that? What would you say?
I understand why that they're frustrated, and all of us are so passionate about getting these things done. And when we talk about the issues, I mean, these people are feeling them firsthand. I understand. I mean, I am so frustrated. It's been 7 years since Julianna died. I think about this every day. The time it takes, but we can't do it. There are so many people that are in Congress right now, and there's only 5 or 6 people who are actually, in there trying to fight for these things. Listen, we don't have the luxury of sitting back, calling each other out. I know they have ideas on, not running in this party or that party, but listen, not every state has access to third parties, or, we don't have the luxury to wait until all of the circumstances that they wish were happening were in place to wait for those to run. Because in the meantime, there's 40,000 Chileans dying every year. I don't have the luxury to wait till all of those things are in place and everything's great, and we were all, say, okay, now it's time, and we feel like it's the right party, it's the right place, it's the right. I don't have the luxury for that, because I know there is 40,000 other families, and other young women and men and loved ones dying as we argue about this. Because until we get more people in, until we actually get in there and we start fighting en masse, they're continuing. So everybody hold on. They want us to tire out. They want us to fight each other. I mean, like, you go back to the civil rights movement. It didn't happen overnight. And there was people that had different opinions. We cannot tire out and become so disengaged with each other because we feel like there's such a different way of doing things that we stop fighting, because there's real repercussions for doing that.
Amy, I look forward to celebrating your victory with you. And
Thank you.
I really do. And thank you so much for coming on the show. Please let us know if there's anything else we can do. We will continue to cover your race. I do encourage everyone to go get your wallet out, like right now, not like later.
Yes.
Don't put it on your to-do list. Like, go do it. I mean, she's fighting the man. This woman.
Yes.
is
I mean,
fighting.
like, you know, it is the 2-year anniversary of Bernie. So do it. And for that, $22, any amount that you can do would be amazing. I mean, every little bit counts. You know, it helps us get out to more doors and more literature printed.
And you're close. I mean, this is not like some long shot thing. You've been at this.
We have to win. We have to win by May 1st. That's when early mail-in starts. We don't have till June 14th, or, you know, we don't have till then. We have to win by May 1st. It's closer than what people think. And we need your support. I want to go to Congress and fight for the everyday working class American like I fight for my family. And I need your help.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. And I will continue to encourage everyone to go to amyvilela.org. We're not against fundraising for candidates that are that support we are not afraid or ashamed of being outwardly progressive. We don't pretend. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. You're watching Act TV. Go get your freaking wallet. I mean, what are you waiting for? I don't know. It's just incredibly moving. And I do think that power that she is coming from is not going to be suppressed. And I want to put my mommy power behind her and support her. As soon as I had my own kid, I was like, how am I going to stop this kid from being eaten by capitalism? That has been my massive mission ever since she was born, even though I had pretty mission driven before then. But if there are mommies watching out there, or daddies or grandparents, it is very, this woman is trying to get elected to help us be able to do that, to protect our kids from being eaten by capitalism. My words, not hers. But again, amyvilela.org. You're watching Act TV. As if that wasn't enough. I know we're going overtime, but if that wasn't enough, I've got an action rundown segment for you that I think you're going to love coming up in a moment.